Why the Japanese were never allowed to know their own history. The hidden Japan suppressed by the GHQ. A memory erased. In 1945, Japan lost the war. Its cities were reduced to ashes. Millions of lives were lost. But was that all? From that moment on, the Japanese people stopped speaking about who they truly were. Or rather, they were no longer allowed to. But what if it also lost its memory? The true nature of the occupation. After the war, Japan was governed by the GHQ. Officially, it was a military occupation, but what followed was something deeper. An occupation of memory. An intervention into history. A reconstruction of the national psyche. The GHQ claimed to bring freedom to Japan, yet one freedom was taken away completely. The freedom to tell Japan's own history in its own words. History itself was redesigned. Book burning. Cultural destruction. Shortly after the occupation began, a secret operation was launched. The War Guilt Information Program, or WGIP. Its goal was to imprint guilt and reshape how the Japanese understood themselves. One of its most effective tools was book confiscation. Imperial history. Mythological records, ancient history and folklore, Shinto and mountain ascetic traditions, texts related to the emperor and ancient rituals. More than 70,000 copies, it is said, were removed as dangerous sisyak. But these books were not praising war. They preserved the memory of where the Japanese people came from. There is a number most Japanese have never heard. 7,769. This is the number of book titles that disappeared from post-war Japan. On March 17, 1946, the GHQ issued a classified memorandum titled Confiscation of Propaganda Publications. Bookstores, publishers, warehouses, even government offices were ordered to surrender them. The operation was to be conducted secretly. And so, over 7,000 types of books vanished without public knowledge. Why ancient history was dangerous. What did the GHQ truly fear? Not weapons, not armies, but myths, rituals, lineage, and stories connecting Japan to lands beyond the sea. The Jomon civilization, over 10,000 years of continuity. A society that once rejected agriculture, a worldview centered on spirits and nature. A maritime people, memories of migration and shifting powers. These stories challenged the idea that Japan was merely a defeated nation. That is why they could not be told. This was not censorship. It was the erasure of history, a practice seen in ancient China, in Nazi Germany. Ironically carried out in occupied Japan by a nation claiming to defend free speech. Even today, local memories persist. Stories of excavated burial mounds, investigations of Mount Tsurugi, shrines destroyed or sealed, sites linked to legends of Moses or Jesus, once whispered, now resurfacing through the internet. The Japan hidden in forbidden books. The banned books shared one theme. Japan was not isolated. They spoke of connections to ancient Israel, megalithic cultures worldwide, Pacific and Polynesian maritime networks. They recorded non-Yamato powers, Izumo, Azumi, Mononobe. These narratives shattered the idea of Japan as a simple modern nation-state. If the Japanese rediscovered themselves as a civilization central to world history, occupation would lose its power. Control would fail. This may explain why not only books were banned, but language itself. Newspapers, radio, publishing. Even written characters were regulated. In December 1945, the GHQ issued the Shinto Directive. State Shinto was removed from public life. Shrines remained, but myths were cut from education. Japan's origin story was pushed outside the system. Why it is still not taught today. The occupation ended, but the program did not. Textbooks were rewritten. Creation myths erased. The emperor transformed from divine to symbolic. Pre-Yamato Japan faded into the background. What remained was a single narrative. Japan as a late inferior modernizer. Myth became fiction. Ancient history became unknown. Alternative views became conspiracy. The result? A people disconnected from their roots. Not through force, but through habitual indifference. Yet today, something is changing. Forbidden books are reprinted. Shrines draw renewed attention. Fragments of forgotten history are resurfacing online. The question. History is not about the past. It is about who you are allowed to be. What if Japan's history was deliberately fragmented? What if your identity lies within forbidden books? This channel, Nippon Tribe, exists to open that door. To the Japan that was forgotten, the stories that were sealed, and the Japan that once stood connected to the world.